I'm James Henry. I'm still James Henry, whether I have the microphone on or not. But my friends online will not hear me. So, friends online, sorry for that first moving of my lips that you didn't get to hear. I'm James Henry. I'm the pastor here at St. James on the west end of Alexandria in Virginia, in the United States. But wherever you are, wherever you're coming from, and you could be in one of the 9 countries, other countries of folks that watch us, or the 24 other states that catch us on a regular basis, wherever you are, here or wherever the other here is, it's good to be present together. One of the things I try to do on the weeks when I'm preaching about a particular topic, and it's been a little bit easier in all honesty, when we've been working together through these fruits of the Spirit, is to look for where I see those in myself and the rest of the world during the week. So back when, on the first week when we talked about self-control, I looked for moments when I was not self-controlled, or when I can tell someone else lost their control, or at least seemed to lose their control. So this week, since we're talking about kindness, I spent the week looking for little signs of kindness, because it is a little thing. It's not a big thing. Kindness, we always imagine the huge dramatic gesture, that kind of thing. Kindness really can be as simple. And one of the things I loved when I found that poem, small kindnesses, is the fact that it's the little things. It's when you see somebody get up and let somebody else sit down. It's when you see someone hold the door for you or help you out. Mom and Dad regularly tell me the stories, because now at this point, Dad is the one who goes in and does the shopping. Mom is the one who drives the car to get them there to go shopping. And they're telling me on a regular basis that they come out, Dad will come out with the cart from the store, and someone younger than them will jump in and help them. Dad doesn't like them to help unload his groceries, but they will take away the cart. And they always exchange niceties in conversation. And that little kindness just makes me feel a little bit better about the world, because I'm 3.5 hours drive from Mom and Dad down in Chesapeake, Virginia, and so I can't be there to make those things happen. So knowing that there are little kindnesses like that lift me up. Yesterday, I got to really enjoy my day, because I got to celebrate a wedding. I got to be a part of Brandon and Helen's wedding celebration right here in this space. If you are here in this space, my online friends, you won't notice this, or maybe you will, I don't know. But my in-person friends are like, what happened to the chairs? There usually is a middle section and 2 side sections. Well, they asked for a center aisle for Helen and her attendants, her brother who brought her down the aisle, and her good friend who was her maid of honor, Masha. As they came down the aisle, they wanted to come down the center aisle. So I said, sure, we can make that happen. That's what having flexible chairs is all about. But yesterday, as I got to be a part of that wedding and be a part of that, there were so many kindnesses. I appreciated the way that when we went to celebrate afterwards with a meal, the kinds of delicious foods that we had, but also the goodie bag that we got that had all sorts of thoughtful gifts inside of it to take home with us. Here we were coming to celebrate their wedding, and we were getting take-homes. It ought to be enough for us to just come and celebrate Brandon and Helen's wedding, I think. But got all these cool take-homes, and we unpacked them neatly and looked at them all. In our house, it even had my name on it and Linda's name on it, so we were really kind of cooled out by the whole thing. And then there were all these kind words that came afterwards. Brandon was sitting right across from me at the dining table. It was very kind to be seated at the table. Linda and I were really kind of the only non-family members at that front table. And we got to be seated with the family and share in those moments. And Brandon thanked me again at the end of that time in very kind words about how the service turned out. And other folks came over and were just very kind and effusive about whatever I said and did as a part of the wedding. And it was just the kind of kindness that lifts you up. Those simple words we don't always appreciate. We don't appreciate. I was reading this week that a theologian that I know of, I've read his books before, Stanley Hauerwas, he talked about kindness as love without control. Doing something where you don't control the other person. Now let me just, before I get to if you're looking for the scripture passage, there were a number of kindness passages. Today we're going to be looking together at Ephesians chapter 4, and we're just looking at verse 32 because it's pretty straightforward. Might as well read that to you and then we'll move on. Here we go. Be kind, compassionate, and forgiving to each other in the same way God forgave you in Christ. Very simple, very straightforward. Be kind, compassionate, and forgiving each other in the same way God forgave you in Christ. In Colossians, Paul writes that we should clothe ourselves in love and kindness, that we ought to be wearing that as our daily attire. Now, love without control is the way Hauerwas talks about what kindness really is. We don't get to control the other person with kindness. Now, I grew up at a time where everybody let in everybody else when you were driving on the road. People would open the door, would slow down, wave you in. I've seen people wave you in or flash their lights at you so you knew to cut in front of you. And then as soon as they got whoever you let in, they'd wave to you through the back window, and you just knew they acknowledged your kindness, and you felt that the world was right. Well, since I moved to Northern Virginia, it's the exception rather than the rule that somebody waves at me for my kindness. But guess what? It's not kindness if I want to control the response that the other person gives me. They don't have to thank me for it. If I'm being kind, its kindness is love without control. I don't get to control how they respond to my kindness. I can say hello to the stranger I'm passing on the street, and if they look away and just pass me by, that doesn't stop me from being kind. I don't even have to say, what were they thinking not speaking back to me? You know, I might be scary looking to them. And maybe they just need to get past me fast because, you know, I do have that menacing look about me. I frighten people a lot of the time. Okay, maybe not. But some people, apparently I do. Particularly if I'm out on a path, walking alone in the woods, and I pass someone who's like, okay, I'm not looking at him. I nod or say hello. And sometimes they just look like they didn't see me. And maybe they didn't see me. Or maybe they were concerned. But I don't need to dwell on whether they respond or not. Kindness is about me. It's not about the other. It's great when somebody does a kindness to me. It's really wonderful when someone does a kindness to me. But when I do a kindness, it does not have to be by any stretch of the imagination with the expectation of return, because then it's no longer kindness. It's a business kind of, you know how when you do something for someone and you expect something in return? That's business. That's not Christianity. Following the path of Jesus is doing something without the expectation of return, just like Jesus did. You know, he healed people. He was kind of cooled out when he healed the 10 lepers, and one of them came back. He did say, what happened to the other 9? The one didn't know. But the truth is, he was happy that the one came back. Of course, that story was about thankfulness, about being grateful for the things that we receive. And sometimes it doesn't always fit into the neat package of kindness. When we love without control, without the expectation of return, we're kind of living out that beautiful fruit that God has for us. And God doesn't say, be kind when there's something in it for you. Be kind when it works for you. But simply be kind. Be kind. Sometimes I have to say, I go to Costco, and it's already been an ordeal by the time I get back to the elevator. I go to the Pentagon City one, and there's an elevator because I can never park on the bottom floor. Always park on the second, third floor. So there's an elevator, and you got to put your basket in there. Because if you go to Costco, you don't walk out with one thing where you can walk up the stairs. It's just not possible. I don't think that's ever happened to me. If it does, I'll tell you about it. It'll be like a miracle. It was a miracle. James went to Costco and he came out with one thing. It won't happen, but it could. I go out there, I get in the elevator, and I'm always struck. There's a difference, but I sometimes feel like I'm in a rush. I've already, faced the ordeal of a long line in Costco, and I get in the elevator, and I'm as quick as I can to push that button so I can get up, go on up the stairs. But when I'm thinking about it, I look out the door to see if somebody's coming. Because once the elevator's gone, you got to wait for it to get to where it's going, slow pokes like me to get off, and then it come back down. So why not wait for them? What's 15 seconds to me? So the little kindnesses change it. And I thought that beautiful poem that Linda shared with us, that I found, talked about the fact that we have lost the idea of tribe. We've lost the idea of the campfire, that we sit around together and tell the stories, the places where we feel connected to each other. And there are these little oases in life called kindness. When somebody just says, hello, how are you? Gives us a smile. When we say, hello, how are you? We give someone else a smile. The opportunities to live out our faith in the little ways. Sure, there are big ways that you're called to live out your faith. There are big ways that, you might live into your calling, whatever it may be. But then there are the little things that may make all the difference in one person's life in the world. The little things. Don't forget those little things. So how will we practice kindness? Well, one of the things I want to invite you to do, first thing is an easy thing. And it's not about whether you practice kindness or not. If you get a chance this week, wherever you happen to be, I want you to just observe. Do what I love to do. I love to watch people. Sometimes that might be why people don't speak to me when I speak to them, because they're like creeped out. This guy's watching me. But watch how people interact with each other, and watch how people's lives change when you notice the little kindnesses. Because when you notice them, it will make you feel better. Not even if you do it or they do it to you, but watching somebody else. As a person with a cane walks up to a door and somebody else holds that door. And you look at it and you think, wow, it's kind of cool to be human. Kindness really does work. So start there. Second, look for little ways to make someone feel alive without the expectation that you're going to get something back from it. If you say hello to somebody and they don't say hello back, don't go off on a little tirade in your head. Oh my gosh, where do I live? How do these people not pay attention? Just do kindnesses with no anticipation of return. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, maybe even longer ago than that, every Sunday morning I get up at 5 o'clock before the sun rises, well, except in the middle of the summer when the sun seems to be already up. It's twilight when I get up at 5 o'clock. But 5 o'clock in the morning, and I come downstairs and I grab a cup of coffee, my first cup of coffee of the day. And we do pour over coffee. This is more information than you really need, but it fits with the story. So I usually make it the night before, because you boil the water, Ideally, you bring it to between temperature of 195 to 205, but when you have a water boiler, you just boil it. And you pour it over the grounds, you make a pot. It would be cold if I left it overnight, and it would make noise if I put it into the microwave in the morning. So I have this wonderful Stanley stainless steel thermos. Actually, we have 3 of them because we drink a lot of coffee. So we fill them on the weekends, and then we don't have to worry about it. But someone else in my house, Josh or Linda, every Saturday night has been making the coffee for me. Before I ask or even engage them, suddenly I hear the water boiling in the kitchen. Now, see, the sad thing is, instead of just being thankful, last night I heard the water boiling, and then I heard the grinder grinding the coffee fresh. And I came up and I said to Linda, "What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? It's my job to make my coffee." Instead of just receiving the gift of kindness, instead of just being grateful and thankful. Now, I think I was just kind of bantering with Linda. But at the same time, I could have just been grateful that she made my coffee, that she put it in the pot for me. And when I came downstairs this morning at 5 o'clock, I slept really hard this morning, so when I was awakened at 5 o'clock by my watch buzzing, it was a little shocking. But I came downstairs to a fresh hot pot of coffee. I mean, it was 6 or 7 hours old, but that Stanley keeps that stuff hot. Poured that cup, went down to my seat, and sat with my coffee, and was just thankful for a new morning, sitting in the darkness, waiting. But the kindness, it's just the little things. It's the little things. You know, I've made a big deal of it for a while now, but the fact is that on most Sundays, unless Josh is out of town, on Sunday when I get home from worship this afternoon, afterwards, for Linda and me, Josh will have made us brunch. It'll be something. And this week, he was off this past week, and when Hannah and John came into town, Josh said to us on Tuesday night for Wednesday morning, "What would you think if I made my peanut butter coffee cake for all of us for breakfast tomorrow?" He said it just because. He didn't expect anything in return. His peanut butter coffee cake is pretty stinking good. And so he pre-mixed it on the night before. He popped it in the oven on Wednesday morning, and we all got to have an unusual breakfast because of Joshua's kindness. Now, it's very easy for me to tell stories of kindness about people I know. I don't know the names of the people that I saw helping other people put their groceries away this week. I don't know the name of the guy who, when Linda goes to get me my oat milk at the store, and the oat milk is way in the back on the top, and Linda, being slightly height challenged, cannot quite reach it. I don't know the name of the guy that got the oat milk down for Linda, but that kind of kindness made it easier for Linda to do our shopping. Do you see how little things can just change the flavor of life? We always want the big things to change the flavor of our lives. But it can be the little things, the soft words. So I talked about look for kindness. A second thing you can do is just look for possibilities for you to do little kindnesses. You see somebody getting towards a door that you could open and help them out, open it for them. Some people are not going to be particularly thankful for you opening them, but it doesn't matter. If you have that opportunity to be kind, let someone else go in front of you if you're not in too much of a rush or need to be somewhere else. And maybe even sometimes when you are. Hold the elevator for somebody. Yes, you'll get downstairs or upstairs 5 seconds earlier if you press the button now. But who knows what difference it might make for the person you hold the elevator for. These seem like non-Christian things, don't they? They seem like something that human beings ought to do for each other. But because we no longer have that sense of true connection to each other, it's those little things. There are a couple of diners that I go to where there's a Silver Diner out in Merrifield I go to, and there is a waitress when she waits on me who does call me honey. And when she brings me, "Are you going to have a cup of coffee, honey?" Now, usually Linda's the only person that calls me honey or sweetie, but somehow it just feels kind of nice that this woman, okay, Angie, my waitress, when she comes and serves me there, usually I'm meeting with someone, calls me honey. That kind of thing can make a difference. Now, I'm not telling you to walk around and call everybody you meet honey, because that might not work. In fact, somebody might be not happy about you doing that. But when you can be kind and open that door to connection, I think that's part of why this is one of the fruits of the Spirit. It calls us just to open little doors. Nothing big, not bringing world peace necessarily. But imagine if everyone was just a little kinder to each other. Every living human being, all 7 billion of us, was just a little kinder to each other. There might be world peace. There might not be hunger. We might have already recovered all of the people whose damage was done by Hurricane Helene or by Hurricane Milton. Being kind to each other doesn't hurt. And oftentimes in ways you and I can't imagine, it helps. So this week, look for those little places that you can engage, that you can make a difference. Listen to someone who decides to answer your question, "How are you?" with more than just the word "fine." Slow down and listen to what they have to say. Help them to feel seen and heard and known. Because in that moment, maybe you're the only person that stands between them and despair. And your little act of kindness can change that. I always thought Christianity was something humongous. And it is. I mean, God became one of us. That's a pretty big deal. But Christianity happens, following the path of Jesus happens, one encounter, one moment, one kindness at a time. And you might be the difference. So, love without control. Love without control. Let somebody in whether they wave or not. Hold the door whether they thank you or not. Hold the elevator whether they thank you or not. Whatever it may be, those little kindnesses reshape our world. And that's why it's one of the fruits of the Spirit. God knows how important it is to build the bridges that kindness does. So be kind this week. Be kind this week.